All right, so in a previous video, I showed installation of a ceiling fan. This one, I'm gonna show a pretty common problem, which is you have an older design, which is really nice for older homes where they had two light switches in your bedrooms or offices, etc. One for light and one for fan. Most new ceiling fans combine those and put them onto a remote. So you just have one switch, provides power, and then your remote controls both the light and the fan and other options, right? So what I am stuck with here is one, an old ugly light switch, and as you can tell, needs to replace the cover anyway, and also a dead light switch. So kind of a waste, plus a little extra space taken up with the remote. So I'm going to show you an option from turning this into this. All right, so this is what I'm going to be installing today on the switch itself. I've been using these Kasa smart Wi-Fi light switches. I like them a lot. They're super easy to install, nice clean look. I'll show you that as it goes along. But also then they're Wi-Fi enabled, so you can control them from your phone, can set them on timers, do all sorts of cool things with them, and pretty cheap. So I'll put the link up for that in the video or in the description and comments. And then I'm gonna be using a particular, since I'm getting rid of one of my switches, I'm using a particular cover that I'll show you as well over the course of the video, and then you can see how it comes out. If you happen to like that, you can use that style. If not, of course, you can use a number of covers. They're compatible with either a normal light switch or the switch. Tools are pretty simple. Gonna need a screwdriver, a pair of pliers are handy for making sure that you are getting your wires. Okay. All right, first things first. When working with a light switch, hopefully everybody knows this, you definitely need to disconnect from the breaker. This one's still alive, so I'll take a break here, go and disconnect it. But regardless of whether your switch is on or off, you still got power back there behind the switch inside the outlet. So do not try to work on it with the power on. This light takes a second to come on, pops back on. So I'll be doing that. But before you highly recommend you do that even before you take the faceplate off, just in case things are a little tight in there. I just don't want to take a risk. So let me go do that. Be right back. Okay. Turned off the power, just down at the breaker, so we are good. I still do recommend, if you have let me get in here, I'll show you. Hopefully have a tester that will ensure that you actually did cut the power. Every once in a while you get something weird. Somebody has done some home improvements on their own and one switch is on one breaker, another switch is on another. I've worked on this bedroom before when I put the ceiling fan in, so I know that's not the case here. But you know, sandy check or a little extra check is worthwhile sometimes. So hopefully everyone, you've probably taken off a cover before. So I'm taking off these 4 screws. And that, and we are in there. So I got our old switches. So doing that sometimes, you'll see a spark if I did happen to be still alive. Like I said, I know they're not. I'll go to a Phillips head here, pulls out. This one is the one that I know is now connected to nothing. It is not connected up, so I'm gonna cap those off, leave them in there. Who knows in the future? Who knows in the future if it will be a scenario where you do want 2 switches in here, but I'll just go ahead and leave them there and cap them off. Out. I will just be, in this case, disposing of this switch. It is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when I've got a dead switch, it does nothing. I purchased this home not long ago and had lots and lots of those where it's a little bit frustrating. I didn't know which switches did what. Bedrooms are usually pretty obvious, but if the switch doesn't do anything, I prefer to go ahead and remove it so it's not confusing. All right, so I got those two. Again, no, they're not live. There may be other ways to do this, but what I just do is I take the two wires. I'm gonna straighten them out. They were connected to the, into the light switch. I'm gonna cap them off with some wire nuts and some electrical tape, so they're still there. In case I ever want to add a ceiling fan that had the other option, etc. But otherwise they're back in there, safe and tucked away, and will not be at risk of causing any electrical damage or spark by being both capped and electrical tape around them. So get those in there pretty tightly, nice and snug. And I'm just going to take some electrical tape and I will be wrapping it around. Wrap it in the same direction that you were screwing to tighten it on. You don't want to be loosening the wire nut as you tape. So just move it here. Again, this is I'm not an electrician, it's just me and the way I've always done this. I'm comfortable with it. More loop, nice little grab this guy out of the way and pull it nice and snug. Got wires in there, and I will do that. And as I can see, I actually didn't need to do that now that I was actually connected and just shared with the other switch. Excuse me. So the line wire here, the red one, is coming in, but the black wire was shared. So that one will actually be going away, I believe, when I change out the switch. All right, nice and tight. All right, that one's gonna stay. All right. And again, I always like to give these a really good tug, make sure nothing's gonna go wrong. Sometimes there is a bit of tension in there once you once you put the switches back in, things get pushed around because there's not all that much space. I'll take off switch that we are going to actually be replacing with the new switch. Get these wires out of the way. I'm actually going to be changing the sides. I like the light switch to be pushed to the door. Looks like a little, maybe still covered with the plate, but might have a little bit of repair work. So, like I was saying, the black wire actually being shared. So I've got my line wire or my hot wire, shared common wire there, and then a requirement is the neutral line, these white ones that you'll find often capped in the back of cases. For these Kasa light switches, you absolutely need that. So if you open up your junction box and you don't have the white switches either connected to your switch already or capped off in the back for you to use, the light switches I'm about to show you isn't gonna work and you would need to use a different one. These older switches didn't require it, but newer switches will, especially these electrical Wi-Fi ones, or electronic, I should say. All right, taking those off. All right, so this is my line wire. And you can see, look on there too. All right, so to do a few things here. One is, see I've got exposed wire here, so I'm gonna have to remove this cap and I'm gonna put it down there. So, like I said, I should have looked a little closer before I capped that last one off. Cut it here, case I ever did want to, again, add back that switch. Or take it back. Actually, I will be using that. Sorry, I did cut it, but I will be using that one. It was just jumping over. So basically what I did is I cut the jumper that was being used for the other light switch. So now I just have one capped hot line wire that was used for the second switch. One, again, it would be hot if I was, if the breaker wasn't switched. I have this line wire. This is the line wire that was coming into the top of the switch I'm keeping, now connected to the fan, the return line, and then this neutral back here that I'll be pulling out. So let me straighten these out with my, that's why a pair of pliers handy. Can do it with your hands, but your fingers might get a little uncomfortable. These will be going into, it's a little long. I'll show you. I'm gonna trim that up just a little. And same with, I won't trim this one, but we'll straighten it out. So a little bit straighter. And then my lines. All right. So, and pull this guy out. Like I said, I'll need one of these. These will all be connected in the brake box, so all these lines will be the same. Okay, so this, take this off. This is the Kasa Wi-Fi smart switch. The really cool thing about this is when you buy them, there are actually step-by-step instructions in the app for exactly how to install these. I've done quite a few of these, so I'm not going to follow them through the app, but it will walk you step-by-step how to do it. So I do recommend, especially your first time, doing that. I'm going to take a screwdriver in on the metal side. I don't recommend doing that side. This side is definitely a little bit firmer. I want to take this off because this isn't the plate, the face plate that I'll be using. So get a, there you go, flat head in there. Pop that out. We've got a bundle of wires back here. And again, this is going to be nice and pretty easy and quick. But you basically got your two line wires. And in this case, frankly, you're loading your line. It doesn't care which is which. You're going to connect both of those. So your red, your black, or in this case, your black and your black. Your white is going to go here to your neutral. And then those copper grounds back there, ground wire. So I'll use all four of these. As you can see, I've got all these wires in here. So I will be doing that. So let me get some wire nuts that came with it. So it's pretty easy. The app will ask you, and I think it's quite good practice, two things I highly recommend. In this case, it's not needed because of the way that I'm going to be left here, but it is going to ask you to take a picture of it before you do any of this. Always a good idea, so you know what you're working with, and also label your lines with some stickers that are included. I really just, there's no need to label because I'm really left with just exactly what I need in this box once I'm done with my operation here. So I always twist the two pair as tightly as I can. I'm not an electrician, so I don't use it with a drill bit or anything like that. That would be a great idea. I take it, I twist it the direction I'm going to be twisting with the wire nut. So it's starting that direction, and as I twist with the wire nut, it's just getting tighter. It's not undoing my twist. It's actually continuing to make it stronger and tighter. So you can see I'm starting to twist down there, and I give a very firm tug. You do not want these coming out. If you can pull these out, I'm using a fair amount of force to make sure I can't. You want to redo that. You do not want those coming out in the wall once you're putting everything away. So you want a nice firm connection. So that's one of my lines. Here's my other line. Again, these are the two sides, the two power sides of my old switch. Same thing, twisting them, using a wire nut, twist it the same direction again. And I basically twist until it is tight enough that I'm either concerned I might break the wire or it just won't twist anymore. So it is, so twist those two pairs. That is, the tighter, the better. Two wires is usually pretty easy. 3 wires gets a little tighter. Like I will be doing those. I will just be adding, I will be adding these other twos to these pair. Okay, so those were the two that are added. I'm using those wire nuts. These wire nuts are fine, so I'll just be adding this to the bundle. I will keep all three of them. Think about how these are going to go back in so that you don't get your wires too tangled up. I'm going over top, so I will simply take this. As you can see, they're nice and tight. I won't be disturbing that. I'll just be adding this to it. I like to keep it the edge of this soldered and braided wire up near the top so that I'm going to push all three in. That is going to make making connection. And again, twist and twist and twisting. And you can feel the wire nut grab and start to twist all three. Again, nice. I'm really pulling, nothing coming out, none of the three. Especially when you have three, you're getting to a point where you can have one that did not get in that bundle tightly enough. And I just can't stress how important it is that you don't have wires loose and floating back in your junction box. Right, so the same thing here, and this is just your ground wire. So green from ground, right? So same thing in there. Twist it around, getting that soldered section that is in there. Others, I will be adding some electrical tape. Some people may or may not choose to do that. I always like to do it. It's just another safety mechanism. Make sure you're not going to get something in those wires making electrical contact. So let me get some electrical tape and I'll add it to these three. Okay, so I finished up. I added the electrical tape to the wires. All of my wire nuts, wires are connected. This is the wire that I will not be using, so I'm going to get it out of the way. I'm trying to tuck it gently but neatly in the back. I'm gonna have plenty of room in this junction box, frankly, at the end, because I'm only gonna have one switch. So I'm going to tuck these all in. These wires, because they're not solid, they're braided, they're nice and flexible. It does make for pretty easy space management inside these junction boxes. I'm not a pro at this. I always start with my line and my ground, get them all the way to the back, try to get them out of the way. This also isn't a very deep switch, so these junction boxes are nice from that. And finally, my two line wires, in particular making sure that my line wires are not going to be overly, have too much tension on them when I put them in. So there is a top and a bottom to these, but it'll go in nice and neat. As you can see, it's going to line up into the exact same screw holes. Probably can't see, actually, I take that back. It's going to go in the same screw holes, so I'm going to do that. There is an app that installs on this. It'll work without it, but I'm going to go ahead and install this, and we'll go from there and grab some screws. I'm going to take my first screw, goes through, get one in there, get it started. And again, at any point when you're doing this, if you're feeling things get bound up, too much tension, I don't recommend using brute force. Take a moment, get things lined up, get them neat, fix them. They should kind of hold themselves into place without too much trouble. I never go all the way in with these ones, and I won't over tighten these. Get them in place roughly, and then when I get my faceplate on, I'll get it just right. All right, I got that. So now, I mentioned this a second ago, right? So this is the faceplate that I like. It's not because it's necessarily my favorite faceplate for other rooms of the house. I've got some flush ones that are, all of your screws are hidden, but I will show you why I like this one so much for this application. Is what it allows you to do is, one, used with your decorative light switch like we have. So it's going to go on nice and neatly. And then it does not have room for the second switch, but it does have these screw holes, which I'm going to multi-purpose or change the purpose of to take this mounting bracket in here. So again, I will take this off the wall, mount it on here. So I've got my remote holder that I'll put my remote in and my light switch nice and neat beside each other. In this case, since I already installed that, do a little drywall patch, but really easy job, and I think it'll look nice and clean at the end, like I'll show you. All right, so let me get the screws out of the package here, and I'll be good to go. Quick into that, right? You've got basically 4 4 short screws, 2 long screws. Because this is covering up and eliminating the cutout for a light switch, what you do is you have this brace that goes in its place. So essentially this is going to go in the wall in this fashion. That's going to be these long screws. It's going to go here where normally the switch screws go. So take that, put some screws through here. I'll show you in the wall here. Follow me. So I'm going to get one started. It's always easier. Sometimes there we go. Got to get going there. And so in the top again, going into the hole that the light switch would normally go into, and that is going to be the support for this. That in again, not too tightly in case I have to move around at all. Should be good. And then these 2 holes, make sure you're going to loosen it up just a hair. There you go, in case I need to move it around for that cover. So now, like I mentioned, I've got 4 of these, and take this, and these will be going up top. I need my flathead. Shouldn't get started. Didn't like that. There we go. Don't have it. Put that in loosely. I can see I'm sighting in there, making sure those are all aligned and everything is looking good. Okay, you can pause it for a second. Tightening this one up, I tightened it up. I did take that off and tighten up. You want to make sure that your cover is going to be flush, and in order for it to be flush, you're going to need to have that light switch in there all the way, screwed in nice and firmly. I did take that off and adjust that. Again, I wanted to make sure that everything was lined up. There goes. Going in just a little tighter. That's fine. Get it nice and go. I like mine vertical. Make everything symmetrical if I can. Now I've got these 2. It's on there nice and firmly. This side is not connected yet. What you do is take that out. And if you're doing this the first time, you wouldn't end up with this problem or this situation. Jumping a bit there. These were just put into the drywall, not the best situation, but out. So just 2 little tiny holes that I'll be covering up. Then I'm going to take 2 of the 2 screws that were used for this. I'm going to use this screw in here. I have to get it going a little bit. It's not this one intended, but it works. So I'm going to put that in there. This is again why you had to have that brace in there, because it is actually going through the light switch cover and into that brace that is behind it. And you will feel it grab in a minute. And what I did on another one, because it did stay loose, just because it's just plastic going in, is I used a piece of double-sided tape behind it, which I'll show in a minute, to keep it upright. So that one there, this one going to the top. I'm definitely gonna need that double-sided tape. Pop that back there. Feel that grab. One more. Nice. And some of this just as tight as it'll go, given what it is. It is fairly sturdy, goes in. Now they both sit, and so into this. Okay. All right, so I just turned back on my breaker. This light is flashing orange and green. That is because it's not connected to my Wi-Fi yet. I'll do that later. So I don't need my phone for that. I won't share that, but it is powered. So power that on, and the light was already on. So there we go. And we have light. It works. So little change. Again, you may or may not love having this here. I like it. It keeps everything nice and compact. Put a little piece of tape back there to make sure that it stayed upright. Easy in and out. Good to go. So yeah, a little bit of tightening, but otherwise nice and clean. So if you like that idea, use it and that trick. If not, there's a few other options out there, but that's how you install it.